kick off with tonight's class. So we're on to class number 4 of a series of 5. So next week will be the last in this kind of mini series. And of course, we keep on coming back. We'll be back on your screens again. Please, we'll be back in person. But we are currently kind of trying to go through this idea of 5 steps towards a more happy, more calm life, a life without, I guess, the constant frustration of, confusion. We're living in a very challenging time. There's no question about it. I mean, there's no one who will. It's okay, no worries, Deb. As everyone will tell you, this is a challenging, super challenging time. I actually been fielding calls non-stop at the moment for people who are, really being challenged by the current situation. But as I've been trying to say week in, week out at the moment, that what we're trying to do here in these classes is to show that really the true happiness and joy is not contingent upon outside circumstances. It's something which is inside out. It's an understanding that we have a unique purpose. It's an understanding that we have our own unique journey. And that's what we're going to focus on tonight, actually. I'm really excited. I'm going to be teaching tonight. Those of you who decide not to watch Arsenal-Liverpool, but actually to rock up to the class tonight. Got a big Arsenal-Liverpool contingent tonight, guys. I'm sorry. But those of you who decide to come tonight, you're very lucky, because I'm going to teach you tonight one of the most powerful lessons that I know of. In fact, it's a lesson that maybe changed my life. So I'm going to teach you one of my favorite things of all time tonight. You're very lucky. You're the lucky, the band of brothers, the lucky few who are going to get over a really, really powerful idea. Before we go on, I just want to say, just to remind ourselves a little bit of last week. Hi Delphine, first of all, Delphine, bonjour. Ça c'est superbe que nous joindrons toujours. Oh, merci. I want to just share with you, let's take a quick look here. Last week, if you guys remember, last week we spoke about the capacity to reframe. That was really the main thing we discussed last week, about the idea of the capacity to reframe in life. We're going to look for, always looking for strengths, not weaknesses, and identify the gifts and successes in our lives and reframe situations and be able to see the good and not the bad. And how I mentioned to you last week that people would always think that if you are in a position where you've lost something, or you're pained by something, or you're frustrated, sitting in traffic, or you're late, or you didn't get the job, so we always presume that it's going to bring out some sort of depression or hard feelings, but we know that's not the case. I was actually reading yesterday. I was reading this really cool book right now. It's called The Journey by someone called Brandon Bass. I don't know if anyone in this room has ever come across this book called The Journey by Brandon Bass. Really, really interesting. And she's a lady. She lives in Malibu. Steve, Malibu, all right. Anyway, so she lives in Malibu, and she, in 1993, there was a massive forest fire in California, and forest fire managed to go, an ember flew from one side of the road to her house, which was on the beach in Malibu. And hers was the only house in Malibu on the beach that got burnt down to the ground. She lost absolutely everything. The only thing she had left after was just her wedding album. There was a filing cabinet had fallen on top of her wedding album, and that's all that she had left after the whole fire. It had to show she was 41 years old or something, and she lost absolutely everything in the fire. So you would say, oh my gosh, if you lost, imagine if chas v'shalom, chas v'chalila, you lost everything in a fire. You would be devastated. You would be completely, you'd be angry. You'd be upset. You'd be asking the questions of, why did this happen to me? Why did God make this happen to me? Et cetera, et cetera. And it's very interesting in this book. She talks about how she had this incredible, she was so surprised, this incredible sense of serenity, because she suddenly realized that, after all, she wasn't left with any materialistic goods, but she had a joy, because she had, she had her husband, she had her achievements of her life. She had a sense of destiny. She had a sense of identity. And she realized that this is something she could take wherever she wants in the world. It wasn't contingent about a place. And even though she saw the charred remains of her house, she actually wasn't mournful. She was actually happy. This is a very extreme example, but we think that materialistic things will make us happy. The houses, the cars, the looks, all these things are going to make us happy, but really we realize that having meaning, having a meaningful existence really is what gives us true joy and happiness, knowing we have a purpose, knowing that we're here to give, etc. These are things that give us incredible purpose. So based on that, first of all, if you can stick on some screens, I know everyone's busy, but it's always much nicer to see people's faces when I'm giving a class. It's as I said many times before, it's so hard to give a class when it's not. I know everyone's busy. That's not like a pressure. If it's too much for you, don't worry about it. But I do want to hear from you guys. Did anybody do any of the homework last week? Did anybody out there actually go out and actually do some of the work, like try and write themselves down? We asked to write down what happened in your life today that was good. Could be one, could be many, and make that a special note of good things that were difficult to achieve. And I also asked you to write down 3 things that you were grateful for today in that day. So did anybody actually do the work? And if you did, I would love to hear from you. If someone says that they actually kind of tried to see in their lives a bit more of the good in their lives. Anybody want to share or say anything about that? Anybody do that in the past week? Sarah, yeah, go for it. Sarah Jones did, because Sarah's the kind of person that would just do that. I can't explain to you how I know that, but Sarah intuitively knew, right? Sarah, you just knew, Sarah, right? Even though you weren't in the class last week, you knew, right? Okay, no, sure. Now, Ben, but anybody here actually do? Justin, Delphine, yes, please. Bavakasha, unmute yourself. Go for it. Yeah. I'll just ask you to unmute.
Wait,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do it every day, but I did like few of the days, and I noticed. I think on the first, so after the first night where I wrote it, then on the next morning, I was thinking of all the things I could add on that list. So actually made me feel good on the next day. I felt because I was just looking for all the things that were actually good around, even if nothing much is happening, because I spend most of my day at home and talking to my colleagues mainly. So there's nothing exciting like through the day. But actually, most of the time I did it, I always found something positive about the day and something positive that happened, and kind of maintain you into a good mood.
Amazing. Amazing. I was going to say, like, did it affect your mood in the day? And you're saying it did, like you already answered. In other words, why do you think it improved your mood? I mean, it's an obvious question, but I want to hear from you. Why did it improve your mood?
I think it's just noticing that even though there's lots of things that happen that are not necessarily positive, then you generally don't really emphasize on the positive, like you don't remember the positive. So the fact that you actually I did it just before I go to bed, so like to remember what happened into the day. This is something that I never used to do. I never did that before. So it kind of, you never remember about the positive, because if you don't look for it, then actually I think you don't see it.
Absolutely incredible, Delphine. That was just, it's everything I'm talking about. It's everything I'm talking about. And again, welcome to all those who just joined us here live. Welcome to the show. I've just actually realized, Baruch Hashem, that my computer was not plugged in. And that means that at any moment, my computer could have just died. It was anyway. So that's amazing. What a chesed, I saw that. Let's welcome Vivian, welcome Olga, and David, and Daria, and everyone. We just basically go over last week, the homework we set was to kind of go out and look in your lives and see if you can see in your life some of the good things. We mentioned about reframing, that every day has bad, and especially in these moments that all the challenges. But when you have those eyes wide open and you're looking for the good, when you're looking for the positive, and suddenly you start to see actually there's a lot more good happening than you may realize. There's a lot more positivity that you may have basically just walked past and not seen. And it has an effect on you. It affects your mood. It affects your relationship with others. It makes you more sensitive, more loving, more caring. And we talked about how today's class is going to focus on this a little bit more, about really starting to open our eyes and recognize and perceive and to see, because how you perceive is how you receive. We've talked about this a few times, and this is what today's class is going to be a lot more about. Anybody want to mention anyone else out there that that last week that maybe tried a little bit more to kind of look in their life for the good? Anybody? No?
Yeah, I did it a few days.
Justin, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so my kind of good things was like not every day will be good, but there will be something good in every day. And obviously on Erev Shabbos, Baruch Hashem, I got to meet Rabbi Dov, and that was one of the good things. And it was really nice to have a chat. And most of the good things that, for me at least, come on a daily basis, involve other people, just generally like connections with other people, or chats, or just generally being either there for them or them being there for me. And yeah, especially at the moment where, like, for everyone, things are really uncertain in loads of areas. And for me at least, it's uncertainty in loads of areas of my life. But being able to like look at the positive things, it's allows me to being a lot more grateful around things, and not get into that sort of like doom spiral of like everything's awful.
Amazing. Justin, can I ask permission, if it's okay with you, if we can just mention what happened after last week's class to you? Can I mention it? Do you mind? With the water?
Yeah, sure.
This is just a perfect example of like how I'm always telling people about life, how you never know what's going to happen. Like, you prepare for one thing and you think something is going to happen, and we have no clue. Like I said, Justin had a job interview the next day on the Thursday, and he was getting ready for his job interview, and he had the meditation last week, and he had the meditation, which was really helpful. Job interview was going to be like, you know, there's a lot of strain and stress on his mind about it. So he finished the class, and that night a pipe burst in his flat there in St. John's. The pipe burst, flooded his entire apartment, and he was up the entire night, like dealing with like water up to his like knees, flowing out of his apartment, like, and it's an amazing. First of all, luckily the job, the company said, don't worry about it, we'll do the interview next week instead. So just showed they didn't end up having an interview that he thought it was going to have. But you know, so much of life is the unexpected. We program ourselves, we have expectations, we have assumptions of what's going to happen and how it's going to happen. And what's amazing is you have no clue. We really have no clue. And when you're open and when you're flexible, when you live life, you know, with that sort of understanding that who knows what they will bring, you're less likely to get angry. Anger, so much of anger is because we want something to go a certain way. We expect life to go a certain way. We expect people to react and to think and to be present in a certain way, and they often don't. And we're not flexible enough to flow with it, and therefore we have anger, serious anger in our lives. When you live life with that flow and realization that even now, even in this difficult situation I find myself in, there's something good to be found, then you can live life with more calm and with more serenity, and it's very, very powerful. Listen, I'm going to give you another bit of work today. So next week, when I ask you, well, you're going to say yes, yes. You know, you're going to have loads of things to report next week. I want to say a big special hello to Olga, all the way from Canada. This is our first international. Well, we had a few international call-ins from time to time. We're going transatlantic with Soul Fitness, right? This is coming live from Montreal, Canada, which is obviously a place very dear to my heart because I lived there for 2 years. So welcome, Olga. Welcome from Montreal.
Thank you very much. It's really nice to be here. I'm really glad I discovered this meditation.
No, it's great. It's great to have you on board. Great to have you on board. We're going live across the Atlantic. Look at that. I feel like Live Aid in 1985. Steve will appreciate it, and Adam Luke, when we went over the Atlantic with Phil Collins. Now, let's go into today's class. Today, here we go. I'm going to teach you today, those who missed it before, one of probably the most powerful messages and lessons that I ever learned in my life, and I'm going to impart that message over to you. If you remember, we said that in the 5 steps, we're trying to go according to the 5 books of Torah. There's Bereshis, Shmos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Dvarim. We talked in lesson 1 about creation, the idea of breath, and we're going to, of course, the meditation today, we'll come back to that. We talked in Shmos about breaking free, about Exodus. That was the first class where we really discussed the idea of Exodus, about kind of like learning how to break free of the paradigms that shackle us and hold us back. And last week in Vayikra, we really kind of went into this whole idea of seeing the good in every day, seeing the good in every moment. So this time we're going into Bamidbar, where we say life is a journey, the journey of life, the journey of life. And it's an amazing thing when you think about it, that actually the whole book of Bamidbar, which currently we're actually reading in synagogue right now, the current book we're reading is the book of Bamidbar. This talks about the journey of the Jewish people. 40 years, 40 years, the Jewish people were wandering in the desert. And the great sages tell us that these stories aren't just there, like, kind of happenstance, and just, everything that happened in the Torah is coming to teach us something about our lives. And there has to be something gleaned, something which we can use as a tool in our own lives that we can learn from the journeys of the Jewish people. Now, on a very on a very general level, we can say that life is a journey. It sounds so cliched, it's so true, we all know, but life is a journey, right? We walk through this world constantly learning and growing and visiting and going to new places. Life is a journey. But I wanted to share with you the most powerful concept that we learn from Parashat Ba'alotcha. Let's take a look inside. I'm going to ask a volunteer to read. That volunteer may or may not be someone currently in this chat, in this Zoom room. That volunteer may well have to be someone who has only joined us tonight. Vivian, thank you so much, Vivian, for volunteering. Do you want to read to us in English? Vivian, thank you so much. You don't have to read the Hebrew, but just the English. This is from the beginning, near the beginning of Bamidbar, and it's talking about the fact that there was the tabernacle, the Mishkan. Mishkan was like the porter temple that they would kind of set up, and they would build it, and then whenever it was time to move, they would put it back, they would detach it, they would pack it up, put it on wagons, and they would move to the next spot, and then they would build it again at the next spot. Take a look at this. Go for it, Vivian, in English, yeah.
On the day that the tabernacle was set up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, the tent of the pact, and in the evening it rested over the tabernacle in the likeness of fire until morning.
Carry on.
It was always so. The cloud covered it, appearing as fire by night. And whenever the cloud lifted from the tent, the Israelites would set out accordingly. And at the spot where the cloud settled, there the Israelites would make camp. At a command of the Hashem, the Israelites broke camp, and at a command of the Hashem, they made camp. They remained encamped as long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle.
Okay, pause there. Okay, so in your own words, Vivian, what's this saying in your own words?
Talking about this cloud that looked like fire. There was above and around the tabernacle.
Okay, perfect. So what would happen was like this. There would be a cloud, and I'm sure you've heard this idea before, guys, about the idea of the clouds of glory, right? There would be a cloud that would come and sit sort of on top of the Mishkan. The cloud covered the Mishkan, covered the tabernacle. In the day, it looked like a cloud, and at night, it looked like fire that was covering this Mishkan. And we've also seen here that how did they know that it was time to move? Well, somehow the cloud sitting on top of the Mishkan, sitting on top of the tabernacle, was the sign, was the siman of when they should move and when they should go. It's almost like the traffic light. Okay, when the cloud lingered over the tabernacle many days, the Israelites observed Hashem's mandate and did not journey on, i.e., when the cloud was sitting on top of the tabernacle, that was the red light, that was the stop sign, that was the do not go, you can't move because there's a cloud lingering over us, okay? And you couldn't journey on. At such times, carry on, Vivian, at such times as the cloud, it says, yeah, at such times.
At such times as the cloud rested over the tabernacle for but a few days, they remained encamped at a command of the Hashem, and broke camp at a command of the Hashem. And at such times as the cloud stayed from evening until morning, they broke camp as soon as the cloud lifted in the morning. Day or night, whenever the cloud lifted, they would break camp.
Pause there. Okay, so this is just basically more explanation of the fact that the cloud was this kind of traffic light. When the cloud was there, it meant stop, no one move. And when the cloud lifted, it meant it's time to go. So as soon as the cloud lifted from above the tabernacle, they packed up everything and they started going. And this is the climactic point. This is amazing. This is what I want to take us to. Go for it, Vivian.
Whether it was 2 days or a month or a year, however long the cloud lingered over the tabernacle, the Israelites remained encamped, and did not set out. Only when it lifted did they break camp.
Okay, so here's something really important, okay? Let me ask you guys a question. When the tabernacle was set up and the cloud was over it, imagine, when you kind of put yourself in the mind space, somebody, an Israelite in the desert, right? You're there, you've got a tent, you're traveling around, and you see that the cloud is covering over the tabernacle. So my question is, how long are you going to be there for? How long are you going to be encamped in that one place?
Till it moves.
How long will that be?
You don't know. You don't know.
Exactly. You have no clue. You just don't know. Now, it could be, it says, as the Torah says, it could be one day. It could be 1 week. It could be 1 year. At that stage, you do not know how long you're going to be there for. But it's very clear that the cloud is covering and it's saying, don't go. You can't move. Don't leave from this place. Stay where you are. Don't go. Okay, and then here's the most amazing thing. Right, let's go back again. Take the last line, Vivian, the last line here. Go for the last line. On
On
a
the
sign.
sign of Hashem, they made camp, and on the sign from the Hashem, they broke camp. They observed the Hashem's mandate at the Hashem's fighting through Moses.
Okay, guys, I apologize for this word of the Hashem. It's just because I took it from Safari and they use the word the Lord. And I always find the Lord is like very Christianic sort of connotations when you talk about the Lord. So I don't like the Lord, I like Hashem, but I didn't change the word the. So it just says the Hashem. So no one should start kind of worrying that like I'm going to like strange on you. It's talking about Hashem, not the Hashem. Okay, but this is the point. On a sign from Hashem, they would camp. On a sign from Hashem, they broke camp. They observed Hashem's mandate at the Hashem's bidding through Moshe. Take a look at this, okay? I'm going to get all excited. I'm so excited about this. Okay, the way it worked is, yeah, you had the Mishkan, okay, is a green Mishkan, okay? Let's just make it green. I don't know why I made it green, so I'm feeling a bit mad, okay? And the way it worked was when the cloud was covering over the Mishkan, that was a sign saying, stop, do not go on, don't move on in your life. Stay where you are, you can't move. And then at a certain time, that cloud would lift up and it would now become not a cloud covering, but rather it would be what's known as the pillar of cloud. And that pillar of cloud was the navigation point. It was the wayfarer. It was the leading light that took the Jewish people to their next place that they had to get to. So I want to share with you now, all of you, an idea that I heard and I read in a book called Nesiva Shalom by a Rebbe called the Sonoma River. And he says the following. And there may be one or two of you in the room that may have heard me say this before. Says the Sonoma River, this is teaching us a lesson for 2020. This isn't a lesson necessarily for the desert. It's a lesson in our lives. There are times in all our lives where suddenly we get a cloud sitting on top of us. Now, that cloud could be a cloud of confusion. It'd be a cloud of frustration. It can be a cloud where we feel like it's bleak and we don't know where we're going and what we're meant to be heading in our lives. It's like a cloud by nature of its fog-like tendency. It means I can't see what I want to see. I can't do what I want to do. I can't go where I want to go. There's a cloud sitting on my head. He says something really amazing. Our natural tendency would be, like we've learned in the previous lessons, outside in thinking, yeah? That I want to get out of here. I want to move on. Why can't I go? I'm going to just make a run for it. I want to find things that are going to make me happy and take me away from where I am right now. So it says in the Nesiva Shalom that when we go through moments in our lives where there's a cloud, it's a sign from Hashem saying, stop, stay where you are, and realize that from within you, as you stop here, as you encamp in this place, from within you, Hashem is giving you a gift in this place to use certain tools to unlock within you the secret of how to get to the next place that you need to get to in your life. You know, so many people come to me before, you know, in my capacity as, I guess, a rabbi for young professionals, people come to me before marriage. Yeah, they want to get married, they want to start dating. Okay, and you know, it's very interesting. And I'm not going to turn this to a dating class, but you know, people are looking for the right partner, for the perfect partner. But the truth is that it's not about looking for the perfect partner. It's about looking for the perfect partnership. We're looking for the perfect partnership because you're going to be together for many, many, many years. And you need to have a partnership. And you have to know who you are. And you have to know what you're going to offer. And you have to know what you can bring to the table. And so often we don't have the kelim, we don't have the vessels to know what we really have to offer. And we're looking outside in. We're looking at the girlfriend or the boyfriend. They're the one that's going to give me what I need. They're going to show me what I need. They're going to fill my tank. They're going to give me the fuel in the fuel for my flames. But actually, sometimes in life, when we're not successful in dating, it's actually a cloud on us. And Hashem's saying, stay where you are. Don't necessarily want you to move on right now, but I want you to work out from within. I want you to work out from inside of you. Who are you? What do you have to offer? Where are you going? And know that the happiness in your life is going to come from within. It's not going to come from without. It's going to come from within. When you know with more clarity, again, life's a journey. So you're constantly moving as you grow older and more mature throughout into your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. We keep on learning more and growing more and knowing more about ourselves. But the idea is, Hashem saying to you, stay where you are right now and work out who are you. Try and work out your mission. Try and work out what you can give. Try and work out where you can go. And then you'll see something really amazing. That the cloud that's sitting on top of you will now become, it will transform and become the guiding light that takes you to the next place. Whatever you work out from within, the joy that you have from working out within what you need to do will now be the wind in your sails, and you'll move on to the next place in life. And then you know what happens? What's amazing? You'll stop again and you'll encamp and there'll be a cloud and you have to work it out. And then you move on to the next place. And life is constantly this journey of stopping and starting and learning more about yourself. I can tell you now, like, you know, please God, this November will be 15 years, please God, 15 years married, right? And like, it's a bit of a cliche. I always say it's such a cliche, but please just humor me. Humor me with my cliche, yeah? But like, when I tell you that, I could say I love my wife under the chuppah, right? So I could say I love my wife under the chuppah. That my love for my wife under the chuppah is nothing, zero compared to what I feel about my wife now, the love I have for her now. Years ago, I watched, I'm sorry, please don't judge me. I know a few of you are going to judge me if I tell you I watched a TV show. I'm sorry, Serena, please don't judge me. I know you, that years ago, I watched House MD. Remember that? No? Anybody in here? Is there actually anyone there with that? Stick your cameras on. It'd be nice to see some faces. So I watched House. So in House, there was a great episode of there. Thank you very much. Daria, molto bene, grazie. I don't know if you're still in an Italian island, but it's good to see. So in House, they had one episode of House. Basically, it's the dude from Blackadder plays an American doctor. I don't know how that works, but anyway. So in House MD, there was an episode where there was did anyone see this one? A religious couple, a Jewish religious couple. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's an amazing episode of House where there is a lady who's a Balat Tshuva, a woman who became Frum, and she's married to this Frum guy, and she has a problem with her kidneys, and he's trying to do all the work, trying to work out what's wrong with them, yeah? So there's an amazing scene where they're kind of putting this lady into a CAT scan, and the Frum husband is sitting next to this doctor who's a secular Jew. Remember, House MD is not a religious TV show. It's you know, I don't know who produced it, yeah? And there's this beautiful scene where this secular Jew is trying to he's trying to get under the skin of the religious Jew and like make out that he's archaic or make out that he's wrong. And they're having a bit of a discussion to and fro. And the religious Jewish man turns to the secular Jewish doctor and says to him, "Do you love your wife?" And he goes, "Yeah, I love her. I love her today the same as I loved her when the day we got married." And he says to him, "Don't you think you should love her more now? Like after how many years, 10 years, shouldn't you love her more 10 years on? Like to love her the same now, 10 years later, shouldn't you love her more?" And you see like this guy's like head, just like the light bulb goes on, like light bulb moment. Where he's like, you know what's a really interesting question? Like after 10 years of marriage, shouldn't you love her more? right? It's an amazing idea. I just watched the episode. Don't go searching now online for it, like, start tapping away House MD episode with religious person. I know that some people like to do that, but the idea is that we in life are constantly learning, constantly growing. But what the point of this is to teach you, to teach me, to teach all of us. The Siva Shalom says that life is a journey, and understand that its default position is you go, you move, you stop, cloud comes over. You have to work something out. You learn something more about yourself. You don't run on, don't cut the corners, stay where you are. Learn something new about yourself, and then the cloud turns into the beacon of light, taking you to the next part of your journey. And then you'll stop again, then you'll learn, and you'll stop and you'll learn. And that is what life's about. We are programmed to think in this Western mindset, of the Cinderella happy ever after, especially when it comes to relationships. I don't know why I've gone to relationships track tonight, apologies, but like we're trained to think of the Disney nonsense about how life's all about, happily ever after, the Prince Charming and the Cinderella, and everything happens and that's it forever after. There's no more growth, there's no trouble, there's no sort of sense of growth because of sometimes of the difficulties, the difficult patches that you go through in life. That there, the cloud covers you, and it's time to learn. It's time to grow. It's time to learn something more about yourself. And this is this very powerful idea that comes out from this amazing lesson in the book of Bamidbar, in the book of Shemot, right? And that's the idea. So that when you're here right now, when you're in that moment, when you're in that moment where, like, for example, right now, I'm speaking to a lot of guys and girls who feel that right now they're stuck. They can't get a job, or they can't get a this, or can't get a that. They're stuck where they are. Okay, and what the Torah is telling us is stay sometimes. It's okay. Stay where you are. Obviously, don't, if you're feeling depressed and sad, but, have friends and have things that are going to lift your spirits. Depression is not a good thing. We want to move away from it. We're not saying sit and be depressed. What I'm saying is just know that wherever you are right now is a gift. Whatever's happened to you right now is a gift. Even if it's a bad feeling, it's a gift because it's teaching you something about yourself. And the challenge is now, are you going to grow with that? Are you going to take that gift and learn something more about yourself within that moment or not? Everything you're given at every moment is a gift. So we have to kind of almost like stop running away. This is why I put in here this quote from Rabbi Nachman. I love this. I keep coming back to this beautiful quote from Rabbi Nachman of Breslev. We talk about the idea of today. I use this in my mindfulness classes, but this is what mindfulness is all about. Anyone who's ever learned secular mindfulness will tell you that it's all about this idea of living in the moment and unhinging yourself from the feelings of guilt or shame or worry from the past, and unhitching yourself from fear and anxiety from the future. And this is what Rabbi Nachman says here. Today, if you will heed his voice. Justin, do you want to read for us from Rabbi Nachman?
Right.
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, Today,
if you will but heed his voice. This is a very important principle to know when it comes to serving the Creator. That one should not place before one's eyes anything other than this day. Whether this is referring to your livelihood or whether this is in reference to serving Hashem, one should not place before one's eyes anything other than this day and this hour. This is because focusing on anything other than the now is like carrying a huge and heavy load, something which is impossible to do. However, when you focus purely on this moment, you are detached from this heavy load and you are no longer attached to it. All we have is in this world is this moment that we are living in, because tomorrow is a completely different world.
Okay, all you have is this moment. And I want to just ramp up, from what Rabbi Nachman is saying, is all you have is the gift of this moment. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you have the gift of this moment. And we're going to do the meditation pretty soon. But part of the meditation tonight is going to be about focusing on this idea of like the gift of the moment that you are in. Without having to run anywhere, without having to go anywhere, there is a gift in this moment. Has anyone here, maybe to share, has anyone ever have been in a moment where they kind of like found themselves in a very stressful situation, or they found themselves in a place where it was very difficult or challenging, and they actually found a hidden gift there, that they learned something, they taught them something that they never would have imagined about their lives. It gave them like a new tool or a new wisdom that they never would have imagined that they would have got from like a difficult, hard, challenging situation. Anybody here want to share that? I always love if people have something to share here. It'd be really nice. I would say stick your hand up or just start talking. I don't care anyone wants to do that, but like a moment where you felt that like you were like had the cloud over your head, but actually that stop sign, that red light sign was actually turned out to be an amazing gift. It gave you an opportunity to learn something new and powerful about your life. Anybody? I'm trying to encourage the sense of community. Yeah,
Hello.
Daria.
Yeah, actually it happened this morning, so
Wow.
it's very current. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I still have to find the reason for my work life, but in one of my private sphere, let's say, something definitely opened up. I've been stuck for months. It has been really frustrating. And for some reason, I ended up to open up a book, and I started reading it. And this morning I woke up and I started feeling much lighter, so much more connected, and so I have more clarity on what do I have to work on. And I thought that I would have repeated a pattern that I have repeated several times, because for some reason my mind went towards that path. But I knew that if I would have ended up doing the same action, I will go back there again. So I prayed, I meditated, and today, after 6 months, I had like an opening. I'm not saying that I have the solution. I have to work on it, but it's light. It's something really beautiful.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, Daria. And I think that, this is so true that, so the natural inclination is to run away. The natural inclination is to just, to look from outside in, the job, the person, the boyfriend, the girlfriend. Something from the outside will take away, what I'm feeling. But really, these moments in our lives are often just the gifts. We have to dig down deep inside and open the box and look inside and see actually there's a gift, even in the most difficult, challenging circumstances. So thank you so much, dear. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to share maybe something in there that's happened to them either now or before that they want to share about that? Anybody? No? Okay, maybe it's good to think about it. If you want, think about it over the next week. I'm giving you some homework on this topic, by the way. So there will be definitely homework. So on this point right now, we're going to start moving on because I want to start talking a little bit about actually how to start logging. If we say that life is a journey, if we're saying that life is all about, and I know Serena and I discussed this last week and 2 weeks ago about how like happiness really is about understanding that there is a journey and living in that moment and loving the moment, and not, as we said many times, this kind of false notion that when I get the job or the whatever, it's going to make me happy. So when you are traveling down this path, there's something very powerful about keeping a logbook. Anyone here ever traveled before and took like a diary with them? Made a diary of their travels? Yeah, anybody? I've got lots of hands up from all the people who have all their videos on. I've actually got their hands up right now. Okay, like I mean, when I've got somewhere upstairs, I've got all my old log books, right? I have to sell them for many millions one day of like all my various travels. I've got all the places I visited and how I felt in each place and what it inspired me, and maybe some poems that I've written, and just the idea of a logbook, logging where you've been, logging where you're going, logging what you're doing. There's something so powerful about that. Now we see this, by the way, from the Jewish sources. So take a look at this. Okay, take a look here. This is very interesting. This is in Pirkei Avos in Ethics of the Fathers. There is a Mishnah. Hannah, do you want to read to us just in English?
Yeah. Joshua ben Pariah and Nitai, let me see, is it pronounced like that? Where's the Nitai?
Nitai the Arbalite, yeah.
Nitai the Arbalite received the oral tradition from them. Joshua ben Pariah used to say, appoint for thyself a teacher, and acquire for thyself a companion, and judge all men with the scale weighted in his favor.
Okay, so I'm actually not focusing on really much of this at all. The only thing I want to focus on is where it says "Kneh lecha chaver." Kneh lecha in Hebrew, all the Hebrew speakers will know that liknot in Hebrew is to buy, is to acquire. So kneh lecha chaver, kneh lecha chaver literally means acquire for yourself a friend, which is a whole different discussion. But I was told by a rabbi called Rav Pinto, Shlita, told me something very powerful. He said to me that the word kaneh in Hebrew is actually a pen or a reed, like a quill. And he told me specifically that you can read this and say kaneh lecha chaver, that your pen should be for you a friend. You should make your pen into a friend. Use your pen to log and to chart your life's journey. Now we see this coming actually very clearly in a book called To Heal the Soul by the Piazetzner Rebbe.
You always mention that, Rebbe.
Yes, I know. You beat me to it, Hannah. I was about to say that.
You always quote him.
Because what can I say? I was credited because he was an incredible luminary who was unfortunately murdered by the Nazis in 1943. The Piazetzner Rebbe was somebody who was, he took his tradition from the Baal Shem Tov, a Hasidic master, but he also was speaking to the generation of the 1920s and 1930s, to a new generation that was dealing with tackling the struggles of everyday life. And he had an amazing insight into psychology, into pedagogy, and into the psyche of the human soul. And he wrote a number of amazing books, which one day, please God, we'll get through them together. But one of them is one's called Tzav V'Zirus in Hebrew, which was his journal. He kept a journal. He kept a spiritual journal of how he was feeling, the ups and downs, his travel log, his diary of the travels of his life. The greatest journey you ever know, everyone goes traveling in a gap year, going to a gap year. But the best gap year traveling you're ever going to do is the traveling of your life. So read what he says here. This is, I think, incredible. And by the way, I'm only sharing with you things that have made absolutely massive impact in my life. I read this a few days into arriving in yeshiva. You guys can imagine me as a 25-year-old in yeshiva, and I'm reading this for the first time, and I'm thinking, wow, this is incredible, reading this from the Rebbe. So here we go. I'd like to ask if it's okay if adamaloof.com can just read to us from the Piazetzner Rebbe. And Aloof, I want you to read it like King David would read it, David HaMelech, with the passion and emotion of a King David. Go for it, Aloof.
From How Wonderful?
Yes.
Okay. How wonderful would it be if we could live in a world another 70 years after we pass away? All the days of our lives we strive to educate ourselves, to straighten all that is crooked, and to fulfill our potential. Therefore, in our second life, we would thus be able to live a shining life, since we will all have the handbook manual that we ourselves have written based on our experiences. However, the reality is that after a hard life of toil, we suddenly find ourselves gone.
Boom. So he says this, yeah? How amazing would it be if you had like a handbook, like that someone just gave you when you were like born, almost like when you were born, you learned to read. Someone handed you the handbook of your life and could teach you all the wisdom that you need to have. There's a song by the Small Faces, and I don't know how many of you guys are massive music fans out there. I know that Jake Saffer for sure might know this, yeah? I saw this as a cover. Mick Jagger once sang this with his son. And if it wasn't for 3 weeks now, I'd take my guitar out and I'd sing it as well. But the song basically has a chorus line that goes like this. So forgive me, I haven't sung for a couple of weeks, but I'll sing now. This is how it goes. So Serena will know this song. I do some music people, so Serena's a music person, yeah? Serena, you'll know this song, right? This is how it goes. I wish that I knew what I know now. When I was younger. Anyone know that song? No.
Yeah, it's quite familiar.
Okay, cool. So the words are, I wish that I knew what I know now when I was younger. Okay, so how amazing would it be if someone would just give you like a handbook for life, right? And you live a shining life. You wouldn't make the same stupid mistakes, date to the same stupid people. You wouldn't like go and get the jobs that you'd know what to do. Someone would give you your life handbook, yeah? But the reality is after 70, 80, 90 years, 100 years, that's it. You got. Carry on, Luffy. Therefore, I say. Adam Aloof, sorry. Adam Aloof, carry on.
Sorry, it's just loading. Therefore, I say it is a very good idea for a person to write down all of their thoughts, not in order to publish a book and be famous, rather in order to inscribe oneself onto the leaves of paper and to chart all the ups and downs of life, and write down all you have gleaned, or I think that's a typo, but all you gleaned, learned, experienced, and learned for yourself, in order to learn for yourself, for your life even now.
Right? So in his words, what he's saying is like this. Make a logbook of your life. Write down the thoughts. Write down, not to make yourself some, Bridget Jones diary or whatever it's going to be, some big thing's going to make you famous. Rather, inscribe yourself and your heart and your soul onto leaves of paper. Chart your ups, chart your downs. Write down what you've learned, what you've gleaned, what you've experienced. And now you can use that book now. You can use that book now in your life to be able to chart a journey and see and learn from yourself. And here's the story, guys. You then put that logbook up on the shelf, and when you see it on the shelf, it reminds you, as an aide-memoire, as a visualization. You see that book and you realize, life's a journey. I have a bad day, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Life's a journey. I have a good day, it's okay. But life's a journey. And you see that logbook and you start seeing life in a different way. Because we've said so many times, what we're trying to do in these classes is the capacity to reframe. We're finding strengths, not weaknesses. We're identifying the gifts and the successes in our life and trying our hardest to see and reframe the challenges. Like we said now, the cloud on top of our tabernacle, it's a challenge. It's an invitation to find the gifts in our life. So I'm going to give you guys some homework, okay? And we're going to do the meditation right now. But just so you know what the homework is, yeah? Again, for next week, remember every day might not be good, but there is something good every day. What happened in your life today was good, could be one, could be many. Like Delphine told us already, guys, do the work, don't be lazy. Do it. See great things happening, just do it, yeah? Make special and good things. But the next thing I want you to do is also, what did you notice today that challenged your belief that you and only you are in control? Did you make the space today to see how you can be wrong about your expectations and assumptions? I'm going to come back to this. Back to this at the end of the meditation. And I'm going to send you guys this as well. Don't worry. But I want us to remember that what we're discussing here is we're discussing the notion that there is a gift even in the darkest places. That we have expectations, assumptions that these things are difficult and hard and are never ending. But actually, there's a gift in every cloudy moment of life. And I would like to do meditation with you now. I think people found last week's meditation helpful. I'd like to do it now based on what we've learned today. Let's go there. Meditation together, and I want to take you on a journey in that meditation, and then I'm going to come back at the end to the homework. Is that okay with everyone? Anybody want to make any observation quickly now, or should we just go straight? I think we'll go straight. It's a bit late, so let's go straight into it. So let's go. So if you can, just put your videos on or off. I think everyone's already putting their videos off, which is a good idea. Okay, fantastic. So just make sure you're in a comfortable position with your feet on the ground, your back up straight against the chair.